Hello my dear friends, this is Ally, a professional rock violinist from Germany, and this is why I just start my brand new rock violin vlog. And I think it's a perfect time to start now, because it's the Easter time and you will be with your families and you will search the Easter eggs. I myself have a little boy and I'm so excited to hide all the eggs and the presents and to watch my little boy go through the meadows, and I'm sure we will all meet there very soon in the meadows. But now to my blog. The very first episode will be about the acoustic violin and the electric violin. What do I purchase? So let's begin then. How do I choose? Electric violin or acoustic violin? For me, these are two different instruments. They are of course basically the same. They are built very similar. You've got normally 4 strings, you've got your bow, you've got to handle it the same way, but at least the main difference is the sound. So you are using your violins for different purposes. Maybe you don't have a clear imagination of your tone, of your sound yet. When I try to learn to sing, I'm often asked, who's your idol? How do you want to sound? How do you want to sing? I have no idea, because I have no idea of singing yet. I can say what I like and what I don't like. And we could do this also for the violin. If you don't have that clear imagination, you should probably start with the acoustic violin, because I think having proper roots is very valuable for every musician. What do I mean with material? Well, learning an instrument in any way does not only mean learning how to handle the instrument itself, so the left hand on the violin and the bow stuff and everything. It also means, and this is very important, it also means to improve all your knowledge about the sound and to improve your taste for the sound. So at least you want to know what is the main difference between a very expensive Stradivarius and My Little Beauty, for instance. This is no Stradivarius, and I know why. But maybe you already know what to play on your instrument. In my opinion, there are 2 kinds of musicians. The ones who want to conserve and the ones who want to develop new sounds. But I would choose my instrument for each side, if you want to say it in general. If I go to a concert and want to listen to a proper Beethoven symphony, for instance, I would expect an acoustic violin, of course. If I am playing jazz music, if I would go to a concert with gypsy jazz, I love gypsy jazz so much, it's so beautiful, I would expect indeed an acoustic violin. I personally would choose the electric violin for more modern stuff. Like, I am very much into jazz rock music and jazz metal, and therefore the electric violin is marvelous, because it has in its origin already the sound I need. Additional, I would have a closer look to the instruments in my band. If I would play more with acoustic instruments like bagpipes, hurdy-gurdies or flutes, for instance, I would choose the acoustic violin as well. Of course, there are the borders already very fluent, like I was playing with one who had a hurdy-gurdy who was half electric, half acoustic. What do you do then? This is just your personal taste, and you have to find out how should the whole band at least sound. So now let's have a closer look to the pros and cons of the instruments. For the electric violin you always need some technical amplification, because the natural sound is just... The acoustic violin has one big pro: she sounds herself, so you can play an acoustic violin wherever you want. But you are very much dependent on the room acoustics. This is what I really hate about classical music and all that stuff. If you have a dry room, it is terrible. You can practice as much as you want. There is simply no sound. Another reason to play an electric violin is you can have more strings on it. Like I have on my very beautiful Fidelius violin, which has 6 strings. You cannot really have those many strings on an acoustic violin. And I think violins, especially more stringed violins, will be a very nice topic for a new episode later. What about the feedback problem? Having resonance body means, of course, living in fear of causing feedbacks on stage, which is nowadays not such a big deal anymore, because most of the bands I know work with in-ear systems, so there's no feedback problem anymore. But I myself love to play on stage with my own band, AllyTheFiddle, really old school, so with monitoring directly on stage, and this is of course a huge problem if you play an acoustic violin and you need to come with your gain over the main gain of the band, which is in a rock and metal band really high. Then might be better sometimes to have an electric violin. But what about practicing at home? Most of the people have neighbors, I know. You cannot be too loud, so what do? I had students who thought they would just have to choose an electric violin that they could also practice in times where they could not be loud. Maybe you already know this little piece. This little piece is a practice mute. If you put this practice mute on your violin, you put this on the bridge, it deadens the sound very much. Let me show you before. And now I show you the same with the practice mute. The practice mute is very good for your muscle training, for pitch training, for your bow handling, all your exercises. But it is not good for the sound, for your personal sound. And you have to keep in mind, using a practice mute means producing a tone is much easier with the practice mute. So if you want to practice with that one, you additionally need a room or a time where you can take care of the development of your sound. Practicing the electric violin at home is really easy, I think, because you don't need any big amplification. I am working myself, for instance, simply with an interface, which I plug into my MacBook, and I can create all sounds I want already. So, what's my final conclusion? I myself want to have both, of course. I have my acoustic violin, I have my electric violin, and I really need both because I'm not specialized in one style of music. So if you've got the opportunity, take both.